and welcome back to ScavTalk, everyone. Today's episode, we'll be discussing the recent Ars Terminal teasers that BSG leaked out with some lore information and possibly new events coming, maybe, question mark?
Indeed. And we also got a Q&A from Nikita that was really random, out of the blue. No one seems to even be sure exactly who it was who sent in these questions. But either way, we got some word from the main man himself. So we'll be going through some of those as well a little bit later on. So, Mr. Church, ARRS, you've been getting your hacking on, getting your coat, going in the terminal and doing all sorts of stuff.
Oh, hell no. Fuck that shit, dude. I can't do that.
Yeah,
I did actually.
I've pretty much just been watching what's been happening.
Yeah, it was crazy. I happened to tune into Logical stream and like someone like in this chat just messaged him like, "Hey, go check out the terminal. Hey, type this in." And I kind of like watched it for a bit. It was kind of cool, but I'm sure like for like people that like are like do coding and stuff, it's like very like because even Logicals get excited like, "Oh, that actually works." You can actually like and then it's like not important dot text and you open it up and it's like the BSG trolling. It's cool. It's cool.
Yes, it's pretty cool. So I guess how did this all start? This began with the Battle State video. What was it actually called again? I can't remember what the video name was even. Was it called Chronicles of Rizzy Part 1 or something?
Yes,
I think that was it.
They might even change the title a few times. I know for sure the thumbnail they've changed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I wasn't paying as much attention. Rizzy. Yeah, I think it was when I looked at it, it was called Chronicles of Rizzy Part 1. I know that there was a Part 1 in there, which kind of implies maybe there's more to come and all this kind of stuff. And in that, it's basically just, well, at the beginning, it's just a guy in a balaclava. It turns out it is Rizzy. I don't know whether that's got anything to do with the fact that the last time that we saw him, I should say, because we've not actually like seen him until now, but he was captured by raiders and beaten up, and we thought maybe he was dead at some point. So maybe that's got something to do with the fact he's in the balaclava. But he's there with Sheila, who we previously knew like sold him out basically. How much Rizzy knows about this, I'm not entirely sure, but they're talking about some backstory stuff about what happened to Rizzy's dad. Basically, that seems to be where the plot line is going. And who used to work at the factory, which is the main factory. The factory is like super important in like random pieces of lore because it's where Terra Group was making various chemicals and all kinds of things. And you can see that because they've got the barrels of blue ice, which is the code name for at least one of the like experimental drugs that they were like manufacturing there. It's like the same barrels that you can see in customs. Anyway, so they were working at the factory with the two crackhead brothers, which is quite fun because you've got Killer and Tagilla like literally in the video. Yeah. Killer with his addict tracksuit on, and Tagilla's got his like red cap on backwards, and he's doing like pull-ups or whatever. And Rizzy's dad is like working at this place, and in the footage at least, he gets captured by USEC troops of some kind, USEC soldiers of some kind, and disappears. And it's funny because it's not very specific. So it's hard to know exactly what's going on. And he talks a bit about 5 different people disappearing when the lightkeeper arrived, and all this kind of stuff. So it's difficult to know. Like in that individual video on its own, there's a few conclusions that you could draw. I saw there was a couple of people talking about saying, "Oh, maybe Rizzy's dad is the lightkeeper or something," but it seems like too big of a stretch, too obvious. Some people were saying that maybe Rizzy's dad could be Jaeger because he's some kind of hunter.
That's what I was thinking when I saw it. I was like, dude, that looks like a Jaeger outfit with the double barrel shotgun. Like Jaeger has the revolver shotgun actually. I think in
Did he both? Oh, was it in the picture or whatever?
In the artwork, yeah. I'm pretty sure it's the revolver.
Maybe. I thought it might be DB, but anyway, he's the shotgun man, right?
Right.
Yeah. And I think Jaeger is hunter anyway. I think that's the translation. And so it would kind of make sense. And like he disappeared with all the other traders when the Lightkeeper turned up in the event last time and stuff. Like how much these things are connected, I'm not entirely certain. But
sure.
The important part from the video really for the terminal stuff was that, on the iPads that Sheila gives to him, well, Rizzy says, and this is where all the memes sparked, right? He says, like, I'm dumb as a brick. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. And Sheila gives him this iPad or whatever, and it's got like the first username and password that you need to get into the ARS terminal. So, yeah, it's pretty crazy. Like from there, the community kind of jumped into action and started doing all sorts of mental things. And there was like, you got in under one of the basic ones. I think it was like default user, I think was the original
Yeah.
one. And then there's like observer 14.4. Like we've seen these usernames pop up previously, and you could kind of go from one account to another account and slowly log into, I think Rook was the next one that people got into, which is like Peter Grach. They said about his translated surname, which Grach is like Rook in English. Then they go into Rook, and then there was another one. There was one more. There was one more user account. I can't remember what it was called. But there was like Warden in there as well, which I think people think is like Lightkeeper's login, which is like one of the others. But anyway, you go through the terminal, and then there's a big map that you can add to. It's like a sort of problem solving thing. So the community came together and filled the map out, and it turned out that at the end of each kind of line, I guess, like when you got to the goal, there were like 5 goals within this maze that they had to like map out. And at the end of each one, there was like a Google Doc with like a real physical location to go and get a letter. And there's 5 letters in total. Like one was in the States, one was in France, one in Turkey, one in Russia, and one in Japan. And each one has got like a random piece of lore about somebody who, pretty much all of them are the same. It's like each individual person has been told that they have like a special DNA genome sequence that's interesting to Terra Group, and they've been whisked away and put on a boat. It's pretty much the I guess like the same narrative in all of them, except for one who seems to be some kind of contract soldier who's like gone off to fight potentially previously. I'm not sure. He seems like some kind of mercenary. So he's the only one that seems a bit different. But all of them is about some special genome that they've got within their DNA that Terra Group's interested in. What that exactly means, I don't think anybody really knows. I mean, we've kind of got to the point where we're at the end of like the first piece, I'm pretty certain, because the final section we had the letter that came out, and that was from who was it? I think that was
a mechanic, or was it
I
related
don't
to
think
mechanic?
so. It was sort of, yeah. It was someone else. I can't remember who the letter was from, but anyway, it's basically a letter from like the anonymous benefactor of Rizzy, who's like helping him, plus the international community of hackers, which is, you know, the community, the Tarkov community, who are like working on this problem. And they said, we managed to hack the code of Mr. Kerman, who's a name that keeps appearing. And you might want to show these letters, because basically we send him the 5 letters to him being Rizzy. We send Rizzy the 5 letters like, as the community and this guy who's kind of the spokesperson. And he says in the letter, you might want to show these letters to Samoylov, which is Mechanic's surname. That's kind of where Mechanic appears within this lore. It's like, okay, well, you want to show them to Mechanic. Mechanic used to work in the factory too. So these things are kind of all tied into each other, which is pretty interesting. So there's like a whole bunch of stuff. Like Sanitar's mentioned a bunch in the letters as well. But I don't think there's really any like strong conclusions that we can draw right this second. I don't know, like, yeah, speak up if there's anything I've missed off. There was loads of it.
No,
I just found it slightly tricky to follow all of it. Honestly, there was a lot.
Dude, that was more than what I dived into. I mean, we did a video on recapping Rizzy's story, I guess, from all the events, and then plus the Chronicles. And at the time that it was recorded and shot, we only had the first bottle in like California found, so we only had that letter to like add to it. But yeah, it's I don't know what does it mean. Where's the mechanic quest at? I know people were like, "Oh, mechanic, we gotta who has mechanic's quest all completed? Is there another quest?"
Yeah, exactly. Is there going to be something in game about that, or I think there's a Mr. C who's referenced in the letters as well, I think, but we don't really know who that is. Excuse me. So it's all a bit confusing. I mean, the English letter is from someone called Rebecca that we've never heard of before, and it's to Johnny, who seems like, I don't know, almost like some kind of child or something. I'm not really sure. It's very strange. And people were looking at it saying, well, Rebecca's spelt differently in the first bit to the last bit. And in fairness, those kind of things are how some of the terminal stuff got decoded, I guess, because there's like secret messages and the stuff that looks like I guess things that are like broken within the text or whatever. It was actually, you had to fit all those parts together with hidden code and this kind of thing. So it's no wonder that people are looking into it. People are looking at like the different spellings of things, or like misspellings, whether it's on purpose misspelling within the letter to try and glean anything. But nobody's seems to have found anything yet as to what that means. So for the time being, it's basically a lore only event as far as we can see, which I mean, for me, that's actually fine, honestly. It's kind of an interesting thing, but I went into, I don't know about you, but I went into the event after the last time we had a big event like this, not expecting any outcome. That was the way that I ended up. It's just the way I am right now about these kind of things, because until an outcome appears, I'm not going to be expecting one. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not getting my hopes up for, oh, this means
Yeah.
Lightkeeper's close or anything like that. So my expectations are very, very slim.
Yeah. I mean, maybe Mr. C stands for Mr. Content. I don't just I'm just kidding.
And we don't know who he is. He's missing. Um,
Yeah. I don't know.
yeah.
It's cool and all, but it is kind of, for me, it's just, yeah, like that meme poking up a stick, like, just do something, freaking, I don't know. But it seems like they're gonna be doing something. I mean, this is like kind of gearing up for something, right? Like, you wouldn't just, I don't know, like, I don't know.
think
It is
that's the
BSG,
thing.
but I can't just imagine they're gonna be like, hey guys, I got a really cool idea. Stop what you're doing. Let's go out in the woods. You're gonna dress up as this guy. We're gonna, do this, all this lore. It's gonna be great. It's just like, I can't imagine they're doing that for no reason, right?
Yeah, I mean that's the thing that I thought last time though. It's just like they can't just be collecting the money and for no reason at all, and then it just ended up being nothing. Like, and that's the issue. We don't know whether last time it was because of something technical, they wanted to do something but ran into some problem and then couldn't because like he wasn't ready or whatever, right? There might have been some other problems. We don't see behind the veil, so it's hard to know. But you gotta hope that there's some kind of rationale. But again, my expectations are just zeros. Like, I'm not expecting anything in particular. I think the next thing that I'm expecting is probably the wipe in December. That's actually the next thing that's kind of on my horizon. I guess maybe you might want to see the early testing of Arena, but like I'm not even sure if we're going to see that. Honestly, I really don't. So, and that's the thing. I'm not sad or upset about it or anything. It's just like it is just what it is. My expectations are just super low in terms of content. It means you can't really be disappointed because I think last time I was quite sad about the Lightkeeper and the way that nothing came of it. It seemed like just an open goal. I was talking to New yesterday actually because I went on his show, yeah, and we were just talking a little bit about that. And I was like, the things that annoy me the most are the open goals when you see something super cool could be done and it could all tie together and be like super awesome, and then it's like it isn't. Those are kind of the most annoying situations. Like if something comes out and it just kind of sucks. If like an event happens and it's just not very good, then it is what it is. But yeah, when there's an opportunity to do something that's like super cool and everything looks like it's coming together, and then it's just the opportunity's missed, that's like almost worse because you're like, oh, I can feel what we could have had,
Yeah.
So I don't really want that again. So I'm just kind of going in with super low expectations on implementation of some of these things. So.
I mean, it could be an event. It's just an IRL event, with the whole like going here, like code breakers type stuff. So like,
yeah, I mean,
it
was super cool that they had 5 physical locations with actual bottles with messages in them in like 5 different countries. Like it was neat. That was actually really, really neat. So it's definitely better than nothing. I mean, I'd rather they do something like this than not. I know there's plenty of people who complain about this, like, go actual content, the one thing that people are actually asking for, la la la, you're not doing it. It's like people are so salty. But I'd rather have something than have nothing. And if this is easier for them to do, then put on in-game events, which seems
that's what I'm saying.
Seems amazing,
it just doesn't add up, man. There's no way you would go through all these links and like just to like that's it, guys, we're done. Unless like something came up and then it's like, okay, we actually can't do anything. I feel like they're sitting on something, and I don't know, man. It's just a hunch, but because it's like what 3 months swipe we're in. Like this is like prime time for them to like, do something, even if it's like, 10% of the people like it type of thing. Like,
yeah,
I know a lot of people did not enjoy the, what was it, like flea trader ban, if you will. A lot of people did not like that at all. So
yeah, they need to come up with something that is kind of skewed against top players, I think, because those people will sort of relish the challenge, and I don't know, it'd be kind of interesting. I'm sure you could do some things that like even the balance out a bit, because that was the problem last time, is that they just drove all of the new players and people who lower down the progression curve. They just drove all those people away.
Well, yeah,
which is kind of sad.
Especially when you can't you just can't turn in your quest. So that's that was a big mistake. I'm pretty sure they learn from that type of stuff, but it's very hard to target a very specific portion of players. I can only imagine.
Yeah, I mean, you could almost do an event. It's like scarcity, but it's it's the all of the the high tier stuff's like we're not getting any imports, so we can only have the things that were I don't know findable within Tarkov. That's easy to find or whatever. So it's everything from level 3 traders and above just like deleted, and that kind of thing. So I don't know, maybe something along those lines, or you lock out people who've got like 50 mil net worth or higher.
Did you just delete items and you?
Oh, but it'll be a one time. It'll be a one time. Like you wouldn't know when it's coming, and just bam, cut off. Okay, all these people, or like anyone with over 100 mil net worth loses access to traders level 4. Anyone above 75 loses 3 and above. Like above 50 mil loses 2 and above. Like or whichever. The other way around. It's like.
But then you have all the stuff in your stash. What if your stash is like $1 billion stash value?
Yeah, well then it doesn't make too much difference to you, right? Then that's whatever. God, can you even imagine just like your stash is just like, oh, everyone's been locked out of the hideout, So they save everyone's stashes and just put them on a database somewhere, and then they just wipe everyone's stash, and they're just like, right, off you go.
It could be interesting, yeah.
Yeah, like you've all been locked out the hideout or something. Like you can't use the hideout at all. Like the stash is gone, and traders
so
are
even
locked,
if you leave a raid, you couldn't use a stash, or is it just wiped?
No, you could. It would just be empty.
That could be interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, you would just sell stuff and buy from the traders, for like the high level players. But it could be.
But
it could
then
be
you'd have
something.
to lock them out as well. You'd have to like inversely lock them out too. Something like that. So you can't buy if you're high level, you can't buy from like level 4 traders, level 3, whatever. Like level 3 and 4 traders disappears. So everyone's back to like level 2 with what they physically had on them. So it wouldn't affect anybody who's lower than about level 20.
They should just do another global event, man, where there's a community goal, but not have it so like crap. And like maybe it's like I'm gonna like segment this into a lost light thing. Like if it's like you don't turn in 60 million, then it wipes. If you turn in 60 million, then it doesn't wipe. But if it does reach the goal, then everyone's accounts get wiped. So like some people are like just deleting stuff. They're like throwing stuff in the water. Like don't turn this in. Don't sell it.
You're thinking about like the Lost Light stuff, right? About you've got these ideas now from Lost Light because of this community goal of like the wipe or no wipe kind of thing.
Yeah. Or like, I don't know, like, maybe like, I'm trying to think of something. Like, I would say the Lightkeeper would get released, but then like, I feel like everyone's going to do that. Like, why would you not want content? Except for like the, trolls or whatever. But for the game to like wipe or not wipe, the having like some people are like just started or like maybe they don't like wipes at all. They would just like, do their absolute hardest, man. They would just be like grinding nonstop to like basically pay their in-game money to like,
How about this then? How about this for an idea? It's like it's a community event kind of thing, and it's like maybe it doesn't really matter, but like it'd be like Bear versus USEC.
Okay, you got me intrigued.
And so then proportionally, the first idea I had was whoever wins gets labs for free, and whoever loses, it's like double the price. Something like that.
Yeah.
Or maybe another map gets like locked behind a money gate or something if you fail. Something like that. I don't know.
What if you win? If Bears win, then the Rogues are aggro against U6 because they're pissed off.
And all the Bears would be like desperate to put the pain on the U6. They really would be.
That'd be so funny, dude.
Something like that would be so cool. Because then it would be, again, it's like, the fight between the two sides rather than just like the whole community. I feel like people would almost be, because it's like with the Lightkeep event, it's like, is there really any way that they wouldn't have like released the stuff? Like, was it really going to change anything? No one really knows. Whereas the two sides against each other, like both outcomes legitimately could happen and somebody could win. You have to make it like punitive enough.
Yeah.
I'm sure there'd be cool things that you could do. You could even just like disable one trader for a week for the other faction or something, or like the top tier of that trader was maybe like level 3 or 4 or something for a week. Or
If like if bear wins, Prapper only sells the bears. If like Usec wins, Peacekeeper only sells to Usec.
Yeah, something like that. Something like that.
That'd be cool.
That'd be cool. That would be cool. That'd be a good event, and that would actually be easy for them to set up as well, because they wouldn't actually have to do anything in game. It's just like menus.
Yeah,
Just menus. So that'd be easy. You just have system message. Bears are winning. Come on, keep going.
yeah. I wish there was a little bit more of a diplomatic one, you know, where it's like comes down to individuals like, do I want this? No, let me try to convince other people to not do this as well. So it's like, do I want this? Yes, let me convince other people as well. Because if you have like these little communities, like, yeah, I don't know, it's just funny.
Yeah, trying to think up something really smart is kind of tough. But there's definitely some like cool events that could be done that are kind of easy-ish. But yeah, I'm with you that I'm sure there's some really smart ideas out there that me and you aren't going to create off the top of our heads in 3 minutes. Oh, I'm sure there's some really, really cool ones. Yeah, it's weird that it hasn't kind of translated into anything within the game.
I think it just needs a little more time is all. BSG aren't exactly known for their punctuatedness. Is that a word? Punctuation.
They're not particularly quick to capitalize on these events and things like that and move on to the next section. Even the Lightkeeper one was a bit confusing because it kind of dragged on for a bit, didn't it? So
I mean, it wasn't ready. Is what it came down to.
Pretty much, yeah. Pretty much. There's been, I guess this is almost kind of a good segue into the Q&A because outside of going through like every last little piece, I mean, we can talk about each part, but just as like a top level, there's one funny thing that I wanted to highlight because Nice Guy was kind of making some reaching sentiments or statements about what has happened and what he's been asked about.
Nice Guy.
I know, shock horror, eh? I love it because he's like self-aware about it too, which is pretty funny. But oh yeah, the last thing about the AIG stuff in that final letter, there was actually mention of like the Sons of Soon, like on the letter.
Yeah, I heard that.
Nice Guy was just like, oh, Sons of Soon's like actually canon. You know, it's like it's in the law now. It's our thing, which is pretty funny.
That's pretty cool.
Nikita on this random Q&A. I don't know who Haybox is, but this random Q&A, they asked him about some priorities. And he was talking about streets. He was talking about storyline quests. Like we'll get onto it in a bit, I'm sure. But he didn't mention Lightkeeper at all. And so Nice Guy was like, Lightkeeper was like not on the priority list. What does this mean? And his kind of take on it was that like, oh, well, it comes off the priority list if it's finished, so he must be done. We don't know when he's gonna be added, but maybe he's done. But I did actually see a tweet like super recently as well, where maybe BSG kind of like just read the headline of what he put out, being like Lightkeeper's gone from the list, as in like maybe he's not coming, maybe he's been dropped, because that was kind of the other outcome. And I think they said to him, let me actually find the tweet, because I think they said to him specifically, no, Lightkeeper's still on the list. Oh yeah, this is it. This is literally quoted. Lightkeeper is still on the list. Don't worry, BSG. And that was about 2 hours ago. So he's like, I wonder why Nikita forgot to mention him. Big eyes emoji. So I don't know. I mean, maybe it's just he was thinking about other stuff, and it's not that important because we know Nikita himself is actually focusing on streets and specifically the storyline quests. I think the storyline quest for him is probably his big deal. But anyway, I guess like from the Q&A itself, we don't have to go through everything because, as some other people have pointed out, quite a lot of it we already know, and some of it's been like rehashed a billion times. So it's not necessarily that interesting. Let's see, because the first question they were asking about maps getting reworked, and they basically was just like, yeah, but we're working on streets. And then they were talking about balancing, and they moved M80, and he's just like, yeah, we'll still balance a little bit, but everything's going to get reworked on release because until everything's out, there's no point balancing, which is fair enough. And question three was kind of cool. They said like in previous wipes we've seen different types of in-game events where traders were locked and all of this kind of thing. What was the most important lesson you learned? And Nikita did say, yeah, the statistics. They gathered a lot of information and data for the future events. And I imagine, like, I interpreted that in my own head as things like how many people stopped playing, because I think it must have been a significant number. I think that's probably an important statistic.
Man, I would love to see their data, dude. I was looking at Steam charts of different games. I was like, man, I really wish Tarkov had his Steam charts like they opened up on Steam. God, I would love to see the data.
Yeah, because that's the thing. Even if it's not all the players or it's only a fraction of the players, it gives you a sample of the players. So you can see on different days, on different events, on different sections through the wipe, the trends. Like you don't necessarily need to know the numbers of the full player base. Like most of the time, that's not really the interesting numbers for us, right? It's things like the relative changes in popularity. And if you've got a decent enough sample, say 10% of people were on Tarkov on Steam or something, that would still give you a good enough idea of like what the player base is doing, broadly speaking. They did actually mention that a bit later on. So yeah, I mean, they're looking at these events and gathering statistics. I do wish they'd done a few more so far, but we'll see. Especially some of the easy stuff. Then the next one actually confused me a little bit. So they asked him like, what is the current status of the customizable armor hitboxes? And can you share some details on how it will work in game? Will players who choose extra protection be punished with movement reduction? I mean, this is pretty much an obvious yes, right? The weight increase, how easy will it be to modify the armor hitbox? And Nikita said, this feature is frozen for now.
Which feature?
Yeah, exactly. Which I assume he's talking about the custom rigs, because he'd spoken before about that and said that custom rigs was frozen. Yeah. So he said, when we first started working on this, there were a lot of people assigned to it. We decided to move a big part of them to make more important stuff. Fair enough, because I agree with that. And I think he said that before as well. And we decided to add a simplified version of this feature by adding armor zones. So each body armor will have front, rear, side slots to insert armor plates. This will be easy to use.
Which that's like, oh, so he was actually talking about customizable armor hitbox system? Or when he said that was frozen for now, or did he just jump onto a new subject? You know what I mean? Like that's kind of where I was reading that, and I was like, wait a minute. I thought he was talking about rigs, but now he's talking about armor. Like that relates to armor armor zones, hit zones, hitboxes.
Exactly.
Right?
And I think it's a bit confusing the way it's worded. The fact that he's even said, we decided to add a simplified version of this feature means that they're working on that. So presumably that's not the bit that's frozen, because otherwise they wouldn't be working on simplified version.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
So just like trying to read between the lines. My interpretation is again that the rig thing is frozen, which is consistent with what they've said before. But that rather than doing full-on armor hitboxes, I guess with like plate gapping and that kind of thing. I mean, I don't know. I mean, my interpretation of this, and it is an interpretation, and I could be completely wrong, but saying that they're doing armor zones, each body armor has front, rear, side slots to insert plates. To me, that sounds a lot like the way that the head hitbox is modeled right now, right? So you have a thing. I'm actually not sure what the shape of the PMC hitbox is. I wouldn't be surprised if it was a cylinder, just because computationally that's probably the easiest shape, or even a rectangle would be silly, but a cylinder makes most sense. Computationally, it's like relatively straightforward to do, and you could do the same thing as they've got with the head hitbox. You just have a sphere, and then you just demark different sections of that sphere to be eyes, nape, top, whatever. And so that would then allow you to do front, sides, back relatively easily, and you just correspond. Okay, we've got an armor rig, and then you've got a plate, and you put the plate in the front slot. Okay, now it covers the whole front of the hitbox, and it still won't be fully realistic, but it would also, in my interpretation of this, would mean that you're not going to have any gaps. So if you put armor plates in every slot, you're not going to have I don't know. I guess maybe some armors won't even have side, but you know what I mean? Like imagine the slick has the ability to put. I don't think it will, but imagine the slick had the ability to put armor in the side. If you put an armor in the side and then you get shot in the side, even if it looks like the armor's like it is now, even if it looks like the armor's there, it will still just hit the side hitbox and be absorbed or whatever. I can only imagine that that's That's what it means. That's how I interpret it anyway, because that's a simplified version. It also means that you don't have like crazy balance issues of people just getting shotgunned and like one pellet of KS-23 getting through and killing you and all this kind of
Yeah, that's
stuff.
a big fear of mine. But
Yeah.
holy heck, dude, that I cannot wait for them to add this because Lost Light has this feature where you
Oh,
can,
really?
yeah, you can find loot by armor plates, and there's different like tiers. You know, there's like crappy ones and better ones,
Hmm.
and like the lower tiers repair the low tier armor like 100% all the time. But as you go up the tiers of armor, you know, the low tier plates don't do as much. Like you maybe get like 25% like a class 6. But if you get the really good plates, then it's like, you know, really good. But it's like such a game changer because you can like actually fights can actually last longer, or like you like I was freaking like got shot by a scav and he had AP 20s and he just destroyed my armor. And I was like, oh my god, dude, this sucks. I didn't have any plates, but if I had plates, like that would have been like clutch. You know what I mean? It's like I don't have to run and, you know, either run around with no armor or like go ditch it or just go leave the raid. It's I can't wait for them to add that because it will, and especially how BSG's gonna do it because they're probably gonna have so much depth to it. It's gonna be like, oh, do I put the plate on the side? Do I put it here? Like, you know, does it repair? Like, I can't wait for them to do that. It's gonna be great.
How long does it take to like put a plate in Lost Light? Just out of pure interest.
It's like an animation, maybe like 5 seconds, 6 seconds.
Okay.
It plays a sound. It's
So it's not a lot.
yeah,
Not a long time.
yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, Tarkov's gonna be like, okay, take the box cutter, slice open to the cut, remove the plate, take the new plate, remove the packaging. Yeah, it's gonna be.
Yeah, it's going to be like an immaculate animation with a 5-second cancel animation where your guy just puts the scissors away, you know, carefully whilst you're getting shot in the head by a scav from point blank. Yeah,
It's great.
yeah, exactly. It'd be kind of cool if you could just like drop the CMS kit and it just like destroys it and you just lose it. You know, you just
Yeah,
like,
it's
panic button. If you had the choice between, I mean, it's a balance thing too.
it is.
So.
Yeah, right. It's a tough. I think it's okay where it's at. It is just a little.
Yeah.
I think when you start canceling it though, I feel like you should be able to move. Like there's that period where like you just can't move. I think that's probably the more annoying part, but
Yeah,
for me at least.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, do you think that interpretation is likely? Do you think that they're going to go with the full hitbox system where if there's a gap you'll get shot through it, or do you agree with me?
Hope not. Good God, I sure hope. I'm terrified of that game. I mean, we've talked about it before, but I'm just like terrified of the day. It's just like another freaking thing where it's like doing my quest and then like buckshot, like the one like you know dual sabat slug, like just one like catches me in between like the breastplate underneath the armpit or something. I'm just like, okay, well, I'm dead.
Yeah, exactly.
Terrified of that.
Yeah, so I'm kind of hoping, and this is the thing I actually said back when I was talking about this age, because we've been talking about this for a long time. It's been coming to the game forever.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure if it's that good for the game. Like it adds so much randomness, and it makes firefights like even more random than they are now. So I'm hoping that this is the way it is. Like I wouldn't be against choosing the plates and then it having full coverage of that hitbox. So if you go
right,
you know, you go like thorax and or however the plates are going to work, thorax, stomach, side. So you can have what
rear,
thorax front, thorax side, left, right, thorax back.
Yeah,
as protection, and that would cover. And if you had thorax and stomach on all of them, that would cover you like it does now.
Right.
That would be okay to me. I mean, it's still going to take some balancing because people are going to be covered less.
But
in general,
further question is, how would the armor's hitbox zones work? So, like, if you know, let's say you got an 80 durability slick, and the side, you know, if you zero the side, is the whole slick zeroed or just like that slide? Like, how's that displayed in like the UI on your slick?
I don't know how it would get displayed actually on. I imagine it will probably get displayed like when you've got a face shield, ears, and like a fast MT. So it'll show you like a total durability.
Okay.
And you'd need to like click into it to actually see like
that makes sense.
each piece, because the slick itself is just going to be a carrier, I guess.
Right.
And then the plates are going to be the things that are actually doing the protection, and then each plate is going to have the durability on it. I mean, that's the part that I'm most excited about, is to have a plate in the arm, or like, you know, however it's done in each armor, like prefab armor within the arm, and that gets shot, and that goes from 40 to 35 and your chest armor's still at 100.
Yeah,
That's gonna
yeah,
be
that's gonna be huge.
like, yeah,
Yeah,
that's actually huge for just like the armor meta in general,
right.
because it stops you having these like thorax versus stomach versus arms conversations. It means that those armors can actually just be used for what they're supposed to be used for, and they not be stupid, which is really, really annoying. So okay, so what was the rest of this? I mean, this is kind of an interesting one. It's the one that I was like, huh, this is sort of clarifying some things that I hadn't known about. And then they said, regarding customizable rigs feature, it'd be pretty easy to do because there'll be presets and everything. It'll not be hard to make your own configuration of your own rig, which is a bit of a confusing statement because he said it was frozen.
Right.
So I'm not really sure what that is relating to. And then, of course, there'll be several types of parameter for gear, adding different debuffs. For example, if you have a heavyweight rig, it'll drain your mobility. Of course, right? The big heavy plates are going to have, I don't know whether they're still going to have like turn rate debuffs on the plates. They might, but then it all stacked, minus ergo, weight factor, and minus turn rate, depending on the plate. Maybe it will depending on the rig as well a little bit. I'm not sure. So we're going to have to see. But yeah, he says, you won't be able to make Juggernaut type body armor without any punishment, of course. Again, a full feature will be available with or after release. But before that, we will add the custom armor zones, which will introduce a more realistic approach to body armor and hitboxes. So the full feature, including all the customizable rigs and all that stuff, is going to happen basically after release, as he's saying there. But we're going to have this simplified version before then, which is cool. So yeah, I hope that it's not stupid and doesn't break the balance. And that it's as we were discussing, because I think that would be cool. That would be good, and it would add extra things to think about without thinking about your untimely demise to dual sabo, as you're saying.
And like possibly you could loot plates off other people's, like let's say you shot a guy in the side and you go loot him, and it's like, well, I don't necessarily want his armor, but I'll take his plates though,
Yeah, and I think that's going to make armor more accessible in some ways as well, because armor right now is kind of underpowered in many ways.
Yeah.
At the kind of the top end, like it's more powerful in the mid game, and then it like really drops off towards the end. Partly because people metafy it, right? So they use the rounds because they know it's going to go through the armors that everyone's using. That's why the rounds are meta. If it was slightly different, people were using different bullets. But I think it's because it will change the pricing quite dramatically about these armors, and about like it means you're not going to have to go all in on something, right? You're not going to have to just buy a slick. You can just buy one plate to protect your front, and then you can protect your back and sides with like +4 maybe. So you have like 6 at the front, 4 at the sides, or you go like 6, 5, 4. I'm gonna be coming out with these like, here's the perfect optimization video for your armors based on all the different angles, and you've got to go 6, 5, 4 strategy for this particular rig and all this stuff. It's gonna be great. So
this is gonna be good.
I'm actually kind of looking forward to it, because it was that randomness that I was concerned about. But this is just increasing complexity for a good reason, and decreasing the stupidity of the system that we have now because of the hit zone like issues, basically. I think it'd be fun. I think it'd be fun. It'd be good. Cool. So, I mean, what was this? Like question 5, basically, is there a roadmap? Nikita says no. Next question. Arena's being worked on by a different team. Okay, fine. We're not doing anything in your grammar. I mean, to be fair, this is where Nice Guy got his information from in the first place, where he was just like, maybe the like was finished, because he said, we don't have an exact roadmap with the dates. We have our own roadmap, but it's secret. We're working on Streets, Arena, and technical stuff related to optimization and networking, and then also Streets of Tarkov and future storyline quests. So anything related to this is what we're mostly focused on. Fair enough. So from that, Nice Guy gleaned that Lightkeeper must be coming soon, because he wasn't mentioned. So, he must be. By logical deduction.
Infallible logical deduction.
Exactly. He's not on the to-do list, so he must be finished.
Yeah.
It's the only logical answer.
Okay, it's a serious answer. I think it's more likely that that's just the big 3 things on their list. Lightkeeper's probably like a armor plates thing. He's like a side feature.
Yeah, probably. It's like the in-raid trader is kind of its own thing. And I mean, to be fair, like maybe they are like mostly the way through it. I don't know, because we were supposed to have had it ages ago. So maybe they're not like working on it as in you've got a team of like 10 people who are all working on it. It's like there's like 3 guys trying to figure out why it doesn't work. So it's not really being like actively worked on in that sense. You know what I mean? It's not
Right,
like a
right.
full feature being created from the
I
ground
mean,
up. You
I
know,
just feel like all hands on deck on Arena because they gave dates for that, or they gave a window, right? They said like what, autumn of 2022. Okay,
I mean,
Streets. Nikita said he wanted it by the end of this year. Okay, and then what everyone always talks about desync. So like that's got to be the three biggest things. I mean, the only thing he probably could have added there was like audio, but
yeah, exactly. Because they said, "Oh, we're getting rid of Steam Audio," and then but there's no
right.
like plan as of yet. So I don't know. I mean, at least with the desync and networking stuff, like we are seeing patches coming.
Mhm.
And I think since the last cast that we did, because I hadn't actually played
Yeah.
since the patch last time, and I saw a few people talking about the changes and about rubber banding, like
Mm-hmm.
listening to
Mm-hmm.
what V was talking about and that kind of thing. People who know more about networking than I do about rubber banding being, I don't know, I guess like we've never had it before and now it's here means that things are becoming slightly more server authoritative than they have been in the past. And there's maybe more checks and the client's kind of being forced back in line with the server rather than the other way around, which is the way it's always been done. So that was kind of just some comments that people have made about that. But I mean, at least they're trying new things, and then that's apparently what the packet loss thing is when there's like desync detected, supposedly something along those lines. I'm not 100% certain, but
I'm super curious. What's your experience? Because my hunch is that people with not so great connections are gonna, you know, feel like it's worse, I guess, or feel like maybe you know, say it is worse. Maybe it is worse for them.
I didn't feel any different to me
Okay.
in the play that I've had last week, and I actually did some decent close range fighting as well. I played a bit of Factory, and I was playing Reserve Underground as well, and it felt pretty good. I don't know. It's hard to say. It feels like fast play and playing like with the desync still is quite strong from my anecdotal like couple of experiences of I could have just surprised the guys, right? There's definitely the possibility that they didn't know I was there and I just popped out. I had a left hand, so I was just like, we're just going to ego swing this bad boy and just popped out with an RD and just and got this guy with the quad nod. He didn't even get to shoot, which is why I was like, hmm. And then there was another one where there
Yeah.
was like a duo who were downstairs. This is in Reserve Underground, and I was on, I can't remember what you call it, but it's the end of the bunker where you've got the metal stairs that go up and out.
It's not, well,
Um,
wait.
whichever end that is. 'Cause you got the ramp that goes to like one of the underground
Oh,
stairwell
okay.
bits. You know,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
in like in the bunker with the power button and all that kind of thing. You got like the ramp that goes one way, and then there's a set of metal stairs that goes into like a corridor after that. I was up at the top of the metal stairs, and I just came like barrel roll, like I went full shift W and just like straight off the railings, like straight into this guy, just like basically like I don't know, it felt like a space marine kind of thing. It was so close range. It was just like chainsaw through the first guy with with the RD, and then have a fight with his friend and kill him. But it still felt to me that pressing the fight is still working. I'm not sure if that's changed particularly. I don't know. It's so hard to tell
Have
without
you?
doing any tests.
Yeah, for sure. Have you rubber banded at all?
Not that I've been able to tell.
Huh.
I would imagine would be quite obvious if you did.
Potential. I mean, it's interesting enough. Was looking at because we did a video about it. I guess it was like a patch video, and he sent me footage of where he got the little symbol, the packet loss symbol at the top, and as soon as the symbol popped up, he like I thought his FOV changed because like everything like got
Shifted
wider.
or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, shifted. But then like after like talking to some people in Discord and like looking at it again, I'd realized that he just like rubber banded like back like 3 steps or something. It was like very minor.
Okay.
Because his ping was like up in the 100s or something. But I figured if your system or setup rather that you might be getting since your connections is kind of like
Yeah, it's kind
funky.
of funny. Yeah, no, it seems to be okay. I mean, I actually ran quite a low bit rate last time, and so my ping was a bit more stable than usual. And some people, I've played one on Shoreline, and people were just like, "Oh my god, the quality!" I was like, "Sorry, there's trees and stuff."
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna
Woods
have
and
to go inside.
shoreline,
Yeah,
even
exactly.
custom
Like,
sometimes.
yeah, it's like playing reserve at night underground is like fine because
Yeah.
there's enough data to go through.
It's just
It's
black
okay.
pixels everywhere. It's like, yeah, this is great. I can do this.
Exactly. It's so funny actually how, and you can see it if you're just running around like recording stuff. Like I've started doing more recordings in labs because it doesn't really matter where I test things particularly. But I normally just test them in places that people are familiar with and customs or whatever. But like even just the files for like just space management on my own PC, I'm just like, damn, like I do like a 45-second test and so I'm going to cut it into the video and I'm just like, damn, how's that a gigabyte? Like, geez,
Yeah.
come on, like this is ridiculous. So yeah, testing stuff in factory in the hideout and in like labs is actually pretty good because labs is like super easy on the encoder, but Shoreline is really not. But yeah, it's weird. Like I'm not actually sure whether like my issues matter, so to
Yeah.
speak, because I think my ping, because I never get kicked, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because my ping only is there. It's weird because the way that Twitch ends up working is you can see it if you open up the network monitor. Kind of like it sends it like squirts of packets, and each time you get like a set of like a block of data that goes. That's when the game gets blocked behind that, and then when it flushes out, I go back again. So I'm just like 30 ping, 30 ping, 30 ping, 150 ping, 30 ping, 30 ping. So it's only like it's a fraction of a second that I actually have a high latency. So it's only for like a few frames or something. It's like really weird. So I'm not sure if it's something that would like desynchronize me enough because it's only very short.
Yeah, I don't
like
know.
when I turned the data rate down the other day, it was like every like 10 seconds maybe I would get the high ping thing, and the rest of the time it was fine. Sometimes it was even going away because I had set my bandwidth a bit lower even.
Do you have just a built-in lag switch every 10 seconds with your connection?
Yeah, basically.
Like,
I just can't tell when it's going to happen. Yeah,
you just push and then you happen to like just teleport
and they're watching
screen.
like,
yeah.
Oh, he's look every time, you look down left hand side, it's just like, yeah, I'm just looking at Task Manager to see when the next Twitch block's going to go out, The data's gone, boys, let's push.
Yeah, exactly. That's interesting. So yeah, okay. I mean, I guess
so,
like
I haven't felt anything.
That's I mean, because I guess if you're not like, I don't know, because the packets get held until like Twitch sends, so then the packets go. Is that? I guess so. Like I feel like you should be getting.
I don't ever get like a packet loss. I don't ever get like a packet loss symbol. I think the thing is the system registers that some packets were late or later.
Okay, so
but I think it's a very small number. So I think like 95% of them go through in a normal time, and then 5% get a little bit of a delay, and then it comes back again. Because like if there's any spike, you get the ping symbol in the corner, and then it goes like 30, 30, 30. It goes like 115, 30, 30, 30, 30, 30, 115, 30, 30, 30. And I think it's that it's registering but it's there constantly because it's happening all the time because I'm sending a constant amount of information to Twitch all the time. It's like I can even look at it now because I'm sending info to Twitch at the moment, and it's like the task manager is just like this on the network activity, like up, 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 up. And I'm sure if you zoomed in, I'm sure it would just be like nothing, nothing, then a block, then nothing, 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 block, nothing, nothing, then a block. Because of how it chunks it up or something. Again, like I'm not a network engineer or anything, so I'm not really sure how this stuff works. But that's just as what I've observed as how it seems to happen. And it doesn't seem to affect my gameplay at all. At least for me, it doesn't seem to affect me at all.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if like I get fiber and then I'm just like 10 out of time, I'm just like complete dog shit.
Nah, I feel like you should. Dude, you can't get fiber yet. You gotta do some tests, dude. You need a 2 PC setup.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that wouldn't help. Well, yeah, that wouldn't help because you would be on the same network. You need someone in your local area to connect to a local server, and you guys could run some tests.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's just I'm like more. If anyone's listening and you're like a network guru and like oh these guys, like please comment down below. I would love to just like know. Like this stuff is like I hear bits and pieces and like buzzwords, but I don't like, dude, my understanding this stuff is like so elementary. It's not even funny. So
Yeah, same here. So it's probably I probably know less about this than like anything else
Mm.
within computing, whatever. Anyway, was there anything else? There was a few other like questions from the Q&A. They asked him about co-op offline. What's your impressions of this? And you want to develop it more? And he said he loves co-op mode because it allows you to role play and create different scenarios, and that they've really got on YouTube, whatever. So they're going to add some more different parameters. You'll be able to really set up your raid, which is really neat.
Yeah.
I just hope that we get to see more things like time and date, turning off scavs, please, come on.
Weather would be nice as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So all of that kind of stuff, which would be super cool. It was mentioned that BSG might release a mobile app for Hideout and traders. Do you still have plans to do it? Yes, we still do. We have everything designed. We have all the assets. We just need to actually start working on it. There's a high possibility it'll be available upon release. Cool.
I think that's a really good thing because the people that can like, sit and just like refresh traders, like, they have access to their PCs every like 3 hours on resets and buy ammo, whereas like some people just like, probably most people don't have that capability. Yeah. Like that's kind of,
yeah.
I feel like that's an unfair thing. And like, oh, I just can never get 12. I have 3 hours to play. When does Prepper reset? I missed a reset. Guess I can't run the Ash 12 again for the 365 day in a row. That's a little long, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's pretty rough.
Yeah,
it's pretty rough. So that'd be cool. They flip back to observer mode or creative mode in offline, which he said, yeah, it'll be possible in offline, also most likely in co-op. There'll be a player will have the ability to spectate in free look, record a custom perspective of a fight or a custom scenario. Like it's just great that they're on board with that stuff.
Yeah,
I'm just super happy.
Yeah,
they have, because I think there was a while where they were not sure, but they've kind of seen the light and seen what people can do with this stuff, and it's only good for the game, and it's so good for the creative community, and it sets up like it sets up things that they like within the game to be able to create that experience and use it as simulator for cool events and operations and stuff like that. It's neat. It's a neat thing. I think it fits with their vision.
And I can't really imagine it's that much work for them. I mean, I could be wrong, but I feel like they probably already have some type of tools, like in-house tools, even if they're like kind of scuffed. Or even if they're just like command lines, they could easily make a UI for it. Like I'm sure it's very like it's should be doable by them. So I'm glad that
some
it's
of the
like
other stuff, sure.
Yeah, I'm glad it's like, on their radar now. Like, okay, yeah, we can do this. Let's do it. We're on board.
Would you rather make free cam in offline mode or fix the audio? I know which one I'd rather do. If I'm on the task list, I know which project I'd rather
looking
be
at this
on.
list. I'll take free cam mode. Yeah, it's like all the way at the bottom. He's like, no, yeah.
Exactly. So some players think the current AI is still at high level of difficulty with a single behavior pattern. Would you consider increasing the intelligence of the AI? I love the way it's phrased. It's probably translated, but it's like, will you consider increasing the intelligence of the AI, as if like it's a purposeful design choice to make it the way it is,
right?
Or mimicking the player's behavior as much as possible. What are the next changes? Well, I mean, it's just like it's too vague, right? I can't tell you the exact changes. A big list of fixes. We're always working on it. AI is something that cannot be completed in, for example, 2 months. It'll be constantly changing. I feel that even after release, we'll still be changing it to make it more realistic. Yeah. Same as always, right? Same as always. Oh, I keep reading about people trying to hunt for the goons, and it's just like, oh my god.
What do you mean?
Just getting shot out of just like literally nowhere. Yeah. Like I was doing a bit of goon stuff in offline as well. Actually, I didn't mean to be. I was doing something else. I was trying to see if I could like do a long shot on Lighthouse, but I kept spawning it with. I think, do you need to spawn it with bosses to make the rogues appear? I can't remember, but I did it anyway because that's how it used to work. You had to press bosses to make them work. And then every time I went in the goddamn offline mode, the 3 goons would spawn up at Chalet and then would laser beam me onto that like sniper rock section. It's honestly absurd. And it was like out of the fog. Like, it was a foggy thing as well. I was like, oh god. Like it said, oh, it's sunny, so I'll just go in with like the current weather. I go in, it's just like super thick fog and like borderline drizzle. I'm like, oh my god. After getting shot, I brought like a thermal in as well because I was like testing something else. And like even with a thermal, I could like barely see them. I was just getting lasered. At one point, I just kind of like accepted my fate. And there's just 2 sets of like M62 tracer just flying in. This is, you got like the stress like outside effect on the screen, just like just going crazy, and then Big Pipe's grenade launchers just going into the mountain next to me, and I just like stood there, just accepted my fate. Like, well, I guess I'm not doing the tests I wanted to.
It's tough, man.
Oh man, yeah. What were you going to say? I cut you off before about something about AI.
I was gonna make a really lame joke, so
Oh,
we're past it, so we're gonna let it
okay.
slide. Yeah,
Okay,
there'll
I'll
be plenty of
save
other
it.
segments for lame jokes. Trust me.
Good, good. Okay, what do they say? They said, "How do you feel about Escape from Tarkov being copied?" You basically said, "We don't like Lost Light, but we do like all the other games that." Because he was just like, it's a good thing for the development industry, the game development industry, when people are utilizing mechanics and da da da. But if it's a direct copy or a rip-off, Church, if it's a direct copy or a rip-off, then they're not keen. They're not keen.
Yeah, I think it is a
Using
copy, but
Garrus.
it's they did. I don't think they ripped assets. Like I mean, maybe you could, but I don't know.
That's the funny thing, isn't it? It's just like ripping assets is one thing, but
Right.
having all of the same items in the game, it's like, well, all the things are real, so you can't really complain, right?
Yeah, it's like, oh man, they copied our AK-74 asset. How dare? Well, I mean, they copied the AK-74 in our game. How dare you? Know what I mean? It's just kind of like,
yeah, like if you
but it
build all of
is.
those models yourself, then like,
For all intents and purposes, it is a copy of Tarkov. It's like the same formula, dude. So much.
yeah,
It's great.
but it's I guess it's a compliment to them, I suppose.
Yes, that's how I see it.
Yeah. And then the most discussed question in the community, I don't even think this is true. The most discussed question in the community is whether or not Escape from Tarkov is coming to Steam. I haven't seen people talking about that forever. Like at one point,
Yeah.
it was a big topic, but what, like 3 years ago, maybe? People were
Yeah,
talking
I
about it a
don't
lot.
know. I mean,
I don't
like,
ever see it now.
it'd be nice for like. I mean, I feel like it should be a decent priority to them, but maybe not now. Not so much. Just because Tarkov's a lot more popular than what it used to be. Because it was just like really shady, dude. But when I first like was trying to get into Tarkov, I was like, oh, they have their own launcher. Like what I mean? It just makes me uneasy. Like the whole thing makes me uneasy. So enter your password
it
and
feels like the games we were talking about last time, right? All those like old school like Korean MMOs
oh
and
my
this kind of thing,
god,
where they've
dude,
got like
yeah.
their own. It's like I don't even know. I was going to try and like create the name of like a indie game dev from 2002 off the top of my head, but I can't do it. I can't do it. You'll have like Nexon Plus launcher or whatever, and it's like
Yeah.
it's only for one game. Like I don't know what you mean. And you
Right.
try to pay, and it's like, oh, you have to go through like Xsola. You can't go through anything else. And it's like, which region are you? It's like it all depends on like you get locked into that region for payment, and it does feel kind of strange. But yeah, I mean, it would be a good idea tactically, I think, from them to have maybe to have the Steam integration come with the release of the game.
Yeah. I mean,
whether that's then like, oh, the release of the game, and it's like everything's broken, guys, because it's like a big white where we've changed loads of stuff, and then all these people come in, oh, hello, I'm Mr. Timmy, come from Steam because I never wanted to play Tarkov until now, and they come in and, oh, what is this? Everything's on fire. It's just like, oh no.
yeah, maybe they
It could
want
be
to
a bit of
wait.
casualty.
Perhaps they want to wait till it's actually released, so they don't have to like go through Steam's whole early access system.
Yeah.
I know it's been like revised. At least I think it's been revised than what it used to be. I mean, there used to be some serious garbage on Steam back in the days, but perhaps that's why they want to hold off. I'm not sure. I mean, what's crazy? I was looking at Steam charts the other day, and Apex was like released maybe like a year ago on Steam, and it's like top 10 or something on like concurrent players. And you gotta think like for like some people may not have Steam, like they're using the EA launcher play game. I don't know who would do that, but they probably do exist. So I don't know how many like actual players in total there are, but yeah, it's just kind of wild to think that game is like I don't know how. I mean, that game's been out for what, like 2018, 2019 it came
Something
out,
like that, yeah.
and yeah, it's still like, it's crazy too. PUBG is still like number. Oh God, what was it? It was like top 5. I was like, what? Anyways, I'm getting
Is that just
sidetracked.
because it's like, yeah, is that just like a recent resurgence? I know that there was a big resurgence like
That's true. It did go free to play.
some months ago. Yeah, because of that.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
I'm not sure. And I'm just not sure if I could go back to PUBG, you know? I'm just not sure if I could go back to it.
Yeah, I mean,
I mean, I did
there's
try one time. I played like 2 games, looted for 20 minutes, and got shot instantly in the head and died. And I was just like,
sounds like
yep.
Tarkov.
Yeah, kind of. But it felt even more pointless.
Yeah, I get you.
You know what I mean?
Because like, can you even play that game unranked or yeah, you probably can, right?
I think so. I don't. I mean,
Do they
I
even
can't
have a
actually
rank
remember how the
system?
ranking even works.
Anyways,
I don't know. It's a while since I played.
yeah, I get you.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
yes, Steam would be a good thing for them, I think. When they come close to release, and then they talked about cheaters, and basically there was nothing of value in that,
Well,
except
hold on.
no, really.
I thought the reporting, would it be possible to have some sort of reporting feedback mechanism, such as a
That's true.
message from NPCs to inform user progress or reports, blah 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 blah. And he said yes, feedback system will be added. You'll be able to see if the player you reported got banned or not. Yeah, blah blah blah. The rest is like cheating stuff. That's huge, man. Like, dude, I can't. Like, God, that's like that should have been done like 2 years, and like it's been long overdue. The next
Yeah,
step is getting people refunded their stuff. That would be really great.
yeah, because the cycle does that, right? I
Yeah,
think did you tell me about that in one of our other casts?
I did. Yeah, I
Mm.
they it would just help. You know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't solve the issue, but instead of getting like kicked in the nuts and then left there to like, you know, bent over, just like heaving. At least you get a free trip to the ambulance. You know, like they'll call an ambulance for you. You know what I mean? It's like, all
Yeah,
right, you kicked me in the nuts, but at least you called the. I don't know what's up with this story. What the heck is this analogy? But you get what I'm saying. Yeah.
yeah. If you ever get kicked in the nuts, I'd call you an ambulance.
Thanks, dude. I'm glad.
Good.
I'm gonna start wearing a
I'm
cup
glad we
around
cleared
you.
that one up. Yeah. Yeah. So there aren't many cheating initiatives planned because we have a lot of stuff relating to busting cheaters, and it works pretty well.
I don't know. I mean, dude, I
I
don't.
really, I know.
You give me
I know
that
some
look.
people. I know some people picked up on that in particular. They were just like, "Whoa."
Yeah, I don't
So
know.
I don't know. I'm not sure. I mean, I don't see many cheaters myself, but this is a whole
I mean,
nother.
I will say this swipe, I do feel like I ran into more cheaters, but
Yeah.
towards like, I was playing a lot this swipe, to be fair. It was maybe more than others, but which is kind of hilarious given how much they've tried to like combat RMT, and like RMT is like propped up as like the big bad, guy, because it like,
Yeah.
funds all the cheaters. And then my experience at least has been like there's been more cheaters than what I usually encounter that are like, to me, obvious anyways, based off my own personal
Yeah.
detection rate, if you will. But
And I think we kind of almost predicted that, though, right, as the community, because we predicted in general the rise or the increase in the relative number of people doing carries as opposed to people just doing like pure RMT. And what's kind of ironic is that on the Twitter post where they actually put this Q&A, there was somebody advertising their carry service literally on the tweet, which is the most like barefaced advertisement
I
I've
mean,
ever seen in my entire life.
not like
But I mean,
BSG can ban them off Twitter.
exactly right, or even
Yeah,
delete their comment or anything. Like it's just
right.
what can you do? Which is pretty funny in a sort of sick sense. But yeah, I mean that's the thing with these carry services. Like if the idea is to go around and kill everybody or whatever, then you're going to run into them more because they're actually going off the killing players rather than just like farming cash because they've already got the money from the guy that they're taking around. They don't really care about like what loot it is. I guess they probably try to avoid people if they can, but if the carry service involves killing people, then
Well, that's
so be it.
right. Like if you just want like a bunch of gear, if
Mm.
they bring you a raid backpack and then you just get all this player loot, like it kind of
Yeah.
makes sense. So Cole Joe Bishop brought up a good point in your chat, Giga. He said, "Isn't that because labs is a problem to get into?" And I think that's actually a valid point because it is extremely like you have to have max therapists. Like, dude, I've literally only gotten one labs card found in raid this wipe. I think maybe two, but I died with the other one. Maybe, but like
What is that
none
on
of
the
the
scabs or?
yeah, literally my scav. Like I got one from my scav, but I've checked scav. I mean, I'm not like religious on checking scav's pockets, but like absolutely none on like scav bosses. They just don't have them anymore. That was like the main place I got mine from, at least.
Mm. What's your
So,
scav rep?
maybe like two positive.
Okay. I've had quite a few at this point. I say quite a few. I mean, my scav rep is, I think it's just 5 now, like just over 5.
That's a lot.
It is a lot, but it's not 6.
I mean, that's 300 more scav raids than I've played. So
it's some like car extract as well that I like did,
sure,
I guess. But yeah, even still, it's quite a lot because I just like run through factories. But I think
yeah,
I would probably say I've had 15 is probably conservative. 20 is probably realistic because I get them for like the daily quests. I hand
okay.
them in for that. So I don't know. Maybe there's a threshold over about 3 or 4 where once you're over that, then you start getting a lot more. I'm not sure. It does feel like I've had more recently, but it's hard to tell. I'm can't really remember.
Well, regardless, they
They're
definitely
much harder to get though. Yeah, for sure.
yeah, and you can't sell them on the flea market. That's the other big thing.
Yeah.
So you literally have to grind. If you're a cheater, you get a new account. You just can't go labs. Like it's just like you would have to grind your scav, whether that's leveling him up or just like constantly playing your scav. Um, like if you like if so how many you got like 5 scav rep? That's like what 500 factory runs. That's
Well,
like at least like 5 minutes, give or take, for like loading in and everything.
probably yeah.
So they have to grind like 5 times 500. Oh god, and then we're talking about minutes, and 60 minutes is an
Yeah,
hour. Fuck, I hate it
2500,
when I hate doing this math.
250, and then 6 goes into that. Well, like it's a lot. Is it like 40 hours or something? I don't know.
40 hours, yeah. They would probably get banned at that time if they're like cheating, right? Like blatant
Yeah.
cheating. I mean, most likely, I feel like, but I just my point is, I think they did because of that change. The cheaters, perhaps, that have any other options like reserve, probably is like reserve or lighthouse are probably like the two that they would like go to because the raider gear, if they're trying to like RMT still, I don't know, because you like what would you anyways. The only reason I say that is because the Raider gear, you could get BP and then sell the BP off the flea, and then you have all this money, and then you somehow convert that money into something for the player. But I don't know what you just buy them gear, I guess. I don't know anymore. I really don't know how RMT works. I'm pretty sure it's literally just carries now, but whatever. Point is, that's a good point, and I think that could be a very reasonable explanation for my increase in perceived cheating this wipe.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. And the thing about that though is that Nikita's saying the most powerful tool that we have in our arsenal is the player reports. If you're getting killed by people who are more obvious and you're reporting them more, then these people are potentially getting banned more quickly than people who are just farming the map. They never see any other player. Like it has to be a net positive. Do you know what I mean? Like if somebody who doesn't interact with other
Maybe.
players is never getting reported. They like sprint in with super speed or teleport or whatever, and they teleport to all, or they stand in the spawn and they have that weird thing where they just like loot just like on the
Oh, I see
spot
what
from
you're
all the
saying.
hotspots, and then they just
Yeah,
like
yeah,
teleport
yeah.
to extract and just leave. Like those people just never get reported ever. So at least if like people are doing carries and they are killing PMCs and they have to expose themselves to the player base somewhat, so
I
their
see what you're
chances of
saying.
getting banned is higher. It's
Yeah.
whether it's meaningful or not is you could argue about that, but it's now better and easier to detect people in theory. So I don't know. I don't know. I mean, Nikita seems to say that that it works and that it's it's important and that they like people reporting and that it does. They at least think it works. So keep doing it. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. So I think that was it from the Q&A. It did seem to come completely out of the blue.
Yeah, I wasn't
Very
expect
random.
that. Shout outs to was it Hitbox? I'm guessing he's like a non-English personnel streamer guy personality. That's my hunch, anyways. Because this was
Maybe.
a transcript, so I'm assuming that he spoke Russian, but I don't know. Anyways,
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not really sure. Yeah, in other news, I don't know. Did I? Well, I'm not sure if I'd reached level 46 last week. I'm not actually sure.
I
I
don't
think
think
maybe I
so.
hadn't.
I don't think
I
so.
think
You
maybe I
you probably would
hadn't.
have
Yeah.
said, "Church, I'm finally done with Long Line. I can get off that map." Well, I
Well, I'm
assume.
not done with Long Line. I didn't. I didn't
Unless.
finish Long Line. That's definitely not what happened. I mean, to be fair, Long Line, I'm at 15 out of 30, so I'm
Oof.
getting there.
Giga. How long?
I'm getting there.
I mean, you were 6, so I guess you get a pass. But Giga. Come
Oh
on
yeah, I
now.
basically didn't play. So I played Wednesday, then I didn't play Thursday, Friday because I was sick. I didn't play the weekend. Then I canned it on Monday, Tuesday because I couldn't speak, so I did scripts instead. And then I played Wednesday and Thursday. So I've only played 2 days actually since like the desync patch.
The
So it's been pretty low,
desync patch.
which was ages ago.
Yeah.
So like yeah, I've actually hardly played, but
Okay.
I was doing some other stuff instead just because I just couldn't be bothered to play Interchange, and I was like, I don't want to play Interchange feeling rusty
Yeah, fair enough.
because you come back after a week and it's just like, man, I do feel rusty,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
for
yeah.
sure.
No,
If
I
you've just
get
been
you.
like making YouTube stuff for a week, I'm like, no, I'm not playing. I'm not playing Interchange under those circumstances.
Yeah.
I'll play things that I know and like. So I was doing a bit like a few random bits and pieces, but doing some like reserve night, which is kind of fun just because I needed to do insomnia. And there's that random quest where you kill raiders on reserve. You have to kill like
30
how many
or
is
like
it?
50.
30. Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a lot. So I was like, well, maybe we can combine the two because it's definitely going to be PvP down there. If there's nobody there because it's a night raid, I can just pull the switch and just kill raiders and then leave. And so it's kind of like a win-win. So if the raid's dead, I get a free shot at the raiders. If there's people there, I get a shot at Insomnia, which is kind of cool. Because I know some people combine Insomnia and Longline, but I'm just like, oh god, like night raids is not really my thing, and Interchange is also not really my thing. So like combining the two things that are not my thing together is just going to ensure that it takes me a literal eternity to complete both of them. So I was like, I've practiced Reserve Underground before, so I was like, fine, we'll do that. But in the process of doing that, I did actually manage to finally get to level 46. And I think I was really close previously. I think this is the way it ended up going because, as I said, I didn't really play. But I managed to tip over to 46 before this week in the intervening period at some point, like while I was sick and off and all this stuff. Because I think I completed some stupid daily. And my weekly was literally resetting the following day. And I was like, okay, we're going to see what this is, like the first cracked weekly that I'm going to have. And it came through and it was like Aramid Ripstop Kadura Fleece as a weekly. Like, can you imagine? And like, yeah, it was quite a lot of each one, but I mean, dude, it's like total freebie. It was like 240k XP or something. And I was like, oh my God, this is absolutely insane. And I was right at the beginning of level 46. And I only needed like 270k XP to get to level 47. So this was like most of it. And then the next daily I had was at like 22,000 XP for, again, more ripstop. Like I had another fabrics thing as a daily, like literally the following day. So I got to level 47 without actually playing, which is insane. Like 46, like it takes so long to get to
Wow.
46. And then it was literally like 47 I got just by literally crafting fabric in my hideout.
I'm so glad you said it. And I have to. You said without actually playing. That's the key phrase, man. I just like God. How could like I like those quests because it's like you said, it's a freebie, and I will like recycle until I get. I guess I have the hoarding problems. Like I'm a hoarder and I have all those junk boxes, so I'll just like reset a bunch of them until I get like a turn in that I can do, and Yeah, dude. Pinnacle of quest design. Just click buttons and turn it, and it's just like God. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, exactly. And then I think it was either that one or one of the other ones where it might even have been a daily actually. I got like 2 Pestily plague masks and 2 tank batteries out of it. I was just like, dude, that's like half a mil. Literally just like a cool half a mil from daily, like no problem. Which was kind of weird. And like we were talking about it a little bit with chat. I just after getting to this point, I do wish that they just brought the crack dailies back from 46 to 42. Like it would smooth that process out so much, or at least put an intermediary stage in which is half of the XP. Because getting from 42 to 46 is such a grind. You don't really unlock anything except long line at level 45. So like, does it really matter if people kind of speed up through those 4 levels and then they're suddenly really speedy from level 46 to 50? Like the whole thing's just super weird.
I mean, I might have talked about this before, so stop me if you heard this before. But I just feel like I don't want to like blame it all on dailies and weeklies, but I just feel that they're there to serve a purpose of like, let's stretch out the the requirements to kappa, and now you just have all these like filler quests. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not even like, because it's weird, right? As soon as you pass 45, you just get the huge chunk and XP boost, you know.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know, none of the quests are like fun, like survive interchange 40 times. You know, it's like, and the rewards are random. I mean, like, I don't know, man. It's just like, yeah, I don't know. Like
I will
they're
say,
cool at the start of the wipe when like XP is really important, you know, for like leveling up, and they're like side, you know, like those side, like, oh, I need to also collect matches when I'm going to get the pocket watch for my daily or whatever. But what were you gonna say?
I was just going to say, I will say, I don't know whether this is necessarily, it's not me completely blessing the system and saying like the system's good, but I do feel a lot more compelled to do them
Yeah,
because of the amount
sure.
of XP that they give you. Like I feel
It's
like I'm just like, I actually want to play and achieve these side quests because of the XP is actually meaningful. And without that, I would actually be I wouldn't be looking forward to going from 46 to 55 otherwise, if you know what I
what's
mean. Like literally just the grind, like because Kappa's 55. So doing all the quests, like if you're going to go for Kappa, you have to get to 55. With the dailies, it's fairly straightforward if you do them like
okay.
frequently enough.
So
If you don't,
basically,
it's a freaking grind, dude, to get to 55. Oh my god, I'm not even sure what the XP difference. I could probably just go and look it up actually. I'm going to go and look it up at how much it actually is because I'm sure it's probably as much as all the XP that you had up until that point again, I would imagine.
basically what you're saying is, given the choice, on one hand, no dailies, you would go labs and kill raiders all day over and over
Mm,
and over to get capo. Versus
yeah.
now, you have some variety.
Yes, basically.
Okay.
Um,
I mean, I
so
can
it
get
gives you
on
some
board with
extra stuff
that.
to do. Yeah. Okay, yeah. So level 46, the cumulative total XP is 3.66 million, and level 55 is 6.6 million. So it is pretty much, it's not quite double. I'd have to get all the experience that I have up until now again to get to level 55. So I probably wouldn't even make 55. Like, probably, it'd be hard pressed, right? Because we're like probably halfway through at the moment. So I'd probably, if I was playing at the same rate as I had done the whole time through, I mean, and that's the thing, right? I don't have those quests to complete. Like normally you've got loads of quests to complete at the start. I'm not sure how much cumulative XP that is, but it's a big deal. And some of my progress now is also based on dailies and other stuff. So I guess that you'd have like the basic daily still. Anyway, it's a real grind, and yeah, there's only a few ways of doing it, and this gives you other ways of doing it, and otherwise it would just really suck, and I probably wouldn't do it. Whereas I actually feel compelled, and I just probably wouldn't, and I wouldn't be going for Kappa because I'll be like, well, the level requirement is impossible, so there's no point completing the quest, and so I would just probably stop even trying for it, and I wouldn't try and complete Tutor-born or any of that stuff. But because it's like kind of in reach, and the level requirement, I'm like, I could probably get that because of the way the dailies are done. Like maybe I will go for Kappa, and maybe I will try and stretch goal these extra quests. Like that's kind of where I'm at the minute. So I don't think the system's perfect, but it's definitely given me that kind of like, and it's hard to that
It
drive to
doesn't.
play is like an intangible thing, right? But like I feel it. Like I have quests that I know I can complete, and I'm like, I want to do them.
It doesn't detract from the game. In other words, the addition of it didn't like make the game worse.
Yeah, for sure. And also,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
things like I've got quests to kill 5 scavs with like leg shots, and normally I wouldn't care because the XP doesn't matter. But I'm like, okay, well that's going to be, I'm going to go and do this, but I might also meet PMCs on the way, so we'll kind of incorporate that into some other things that I'm doing. It's like it just gives you another thing to think about that's kind of interesting, and it's allowing you to get XP while you do something else. I think it's only dull if you are just like, I am going to robotically complete this quest and that's all I'm going to do. You don't try to like weave it into anything else. I mean, like, oh, is there anything else I could do on the way to maybe get a shooter born kill or da da da? Like, where could I kill a scav that's going to give me an opportunity for that? That kind of thing. That's what I like thinking about. And yeah, again, it's more interesting than just going killing raiders or rogues for like a billion hours. So I don't know.
Yeah,
At least for me, it's kind of working.
I think I'm just biased because I don't care about kappa, so therefore I don't care about XP past that point. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm not even sure why I care about kappa. I kind of do.
I'm just convinced it's just something to do. You know what I mean? It's just like looting. It's something to do. Just like shooting PMCs. It's something to do. It's just like
Maybe. I don't really know.
don't look at chat. I'm dying.
Oh
here,
boy.
Giga.
Oh boy. Yeah, you've been playing that Lost Light.
Yeah, dude. I was just gonna say I really wish Tarkov would like copy Lost Light now in this one area, dude. The freaking ranked mode. I was like, I didn't really understand. Like someone asked me, I was like, well, why play ranked? Like, what's the point? I was like, damn, that's a good question. Why play ranked? And I looked at it, and you get points like currency for like ranking up and stuff. And they have a shop you can buy like gear and ammo and like items cases, things like that. But also, as you go up the ranks, you get rewards. Like if you play like 10 matches in this rank and kill 10, PMCs, if you will, and then you unlock like a dog tag case, and they just give it to you, and you just like have that, or you get like a bigger key tool. So it's like, it basically is like a quest, I guess, but it's in that same way you were describing, because of the ranked mode, how it like adds a twist to it. You can also do like normal task, but also have like the task of doing ranked. And anyways,
that's kind of cool. It almost sounds like Arena in some ways, but in the game still, obviously.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Because I guess Tarkov was like never going to have a ranked mode. It's going to be an Arena.
Yeah, I really don't like the term ranked because it's not real. Like, I guess it is because they use it in their matchmaking as well. But like, just when I hear the term ranked and like Escape from Tarkov formula, I just like, something inside me just like cringes a little bit. You know what I mean? But it's actually pretty cool. I like it.
It's funny that you've basically been maining this like clone game.
I know it's so bizarre, right? But I can't help myself, dude.
It's so weird.
It is weird. I think it's literally like all the features that you want. Like you want not mounting. Freaking what's it called? When you like climb over stuff, vaulting, right?
Oh, vaulting, yeah.
Yeah, this has it. So it's like, dude, like on woods when you try to go up the rocks and stuff, they're like you can't like get up them. And this game, it has vaulting, and it's like literally, I look at these geometries that are supposed to be like rocks. I'm like, I can vault up this. Like, God, I wish Tarkov had this because it's just like it just makes it so much more like enjoyable. The armor plates is like, God, I wish Tarkov have this. It's just like, the ranked mode. Yeah. God, I wish Tarkov had this. That'd be so cool, dude. Yeah.
God, I remember when PUBG didn't have vaulting, and it was awful. And then they added it like really soon after I started playing, and I was like, this is amazing. So I definitely feel you on that for sure. Like Tarkov could definitely do with vaulting. It's funny, like no one ever talks about it. I think we're like kind of so used to the mechanics. It's one of those things that because it's not like a bug per se, it's just like a feature that's missing. People don't really think about it. Like occasionally people are just like, oh god, I got like stuck on this tree stump. It's like extremely annoying. Or there's like a big branch that you can't like jump over, or the tiniest little step that's just too high for you to be able to walk over. There's like a couple in particular. There's one on customs on the. I'd never know which way to describe customs because it's like north or south. But if you're up at the dorm's edge and you're kind of on the right hand side, there's the break in the wall kind of towards the stash and like off towards the big pylons or whatever. And there's like the break in the wall, and you always have to jump over that little step, and it's extremely annoying because it's like 6 inches or something, and you're like, really? Like really? I have to do like a full PMC jump over this like tiny little brick. I was
thinking of the freaking 2-story bathroom window. You know, you gotta run up the trash bag and like, you know, get your right foot on the, you know, tip of the chair and then jump off that and like look down and crouch so you can like land the window, but you have to jump at like just the precise angle. Like, dude, could you imagine just like walking over there and like double tapping space and you just like climb in there? Like, oh.
There's like so many random things in Tarkov that are just like stupid platformer style mechanics. You know, like I know they changed it. You know, like the Portaloo wall jump over to like I know they changed it to make it easier now, but it used to just be like, oh yeah, you know, but you have to walk because of the angle of the jump off like the lip of the car, like you know the off the back of the car thing, like just the corner, and then oh my god,
skill issue.
Yeah, exactly. But my skill cap. My skill cap and unvaulting my skill ceiling. So it separates the best from the, you know, the mediocre.
Oh my god, too funny.
God, it just reminds me of like the old StarCraft communities, just like when StarCraft 2 came out, and it's just like you don't need to manually put your workers on the minerals anymore, and everyone's just like game's dead. Like the game's dead. You killed the game. You killed the game. You don't have to manually put all of your workers on the minerals anymore. Like this is it. It was an important part of the APM, like my skill ceiling was gone.
I love it.
There is an argument there, I will say, but
yeah. No, but I'd love the like over exaggerated, you know, like my skill cap. I just love it.
Yeah, exactly.
Dude, they have this other crazy thing in Lost Light where there's like a global chat, and so when you die, right, you get knocked, you know, and there's stems that you can self revive. You have like teammates, they can revive you. But you can do this one thing called send out like an SOS, like emergency signal. And I was like, I didn't really understand what it did. I mean, I'm like learning the game as I go. You know, there's not really like, you know, the market on this thing is really small. There's not a lot of YouTube videos out there. But I noticed in the global chat, I would see these messages like, you know, please come help. I died to a Firefly, which is like the equivalent to a PMC or whatever. And I click join, and I literally just jump in the middle of their factory raid, and we're on a team, and he's down there knocked, and I can see him, and I run over there. I killed the guy that was like moving to like loot him or something, and I picked him up, and he was like such a newbie, dude, because we were like 5 minutes left in the raid, and he was like, he had to have been playing on mobile because he was like, he just like panning left and right, like really slowly. Just dying laughing.
These are the people that you're playing against, Church.
Not all.
I accused you last time. Is this why it's so fun?
No. I've ranked up, dude. So you got it. Like because the matchmaking, whether you play ranked or not, it matches you based off that.
Okay.
So but long story short, it was like a minute and 30 seconds till like the raid ended, and I was like jumping, shooting, like get this guy to come over because like every AI would aggro onto us, and he would like stop and like pan over and shoot. I had to like get around him and shoot it to like, come on, dude, you go loot him. And I didn't know how to like communicate to him. It was so funny. But we finally made it out there, but I was like, dude, that's so cool. You can like just like pop in the middle of a raid and like help someone. Like I was like, what?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, I thought that was crazy. I want to do
how many maps are there on this thing?
4. There's factory. Yeah, factory is literally like the factory expansion times 2. Okay. Like it's got like all these weird extra routes.
I think you said about that last time, actually. Yeah. What were the other ones?
There's like a giant sniping map, which is like woods, but not really woods. It's nothing like it. But like I guess in like, you know, it's a
Yeah.
Tarkov copy. It's got to have a sniping woods map. You know, there's got to be trees everywhere. You know, it's got customs. It's called like Harbor or something, and it's like it's literally like customs, but like all the like points of interest are like crammed together. It's weird, but and it's got their own map, which is called Art Company. It's like I guess it's kind of like what the streets of Tarkov would be if it was like really small. You know,
Yeah.
like there's one like big main office building, or like and like an industrial complex, like little apartments, and then like a big corpo building. But anyways,
Are they maps like, are they as big? They're not, surely not as big as they are in EFT. They must be a lot smaller, right?
no, I would say like uh
Like the harbor map, for example, versus customs.
like I said, it's kind of big, but it's like customs, but everything's a little bit closer together.
And the detail surely can't be there in the map design.
No,
Yeah.
no, not at all.
It's so funny, dude.
Yeah.
I can't. I'm not even sure what to make of this. Like, it's so funny. As you say, it's like it's just something completely new, but it's the same formula. So it's kind of like it would almost be like playing like a different FPS. You know what I mean? You're like, oh, you main like one shooter and then a regular shooter, and then you're like, oh, I'm going to play like some Battlefield rather than playing like Call of Duty or whatever. It's like it's all different, and you start again. You don't know the mechanics, you don't know the maps, like, but it's similar enough that you feel like you have an advantage over other people who like have never played that genre. Kind of, I don't know, it's something like that. You know, it's tangential enough. I guess it's even closer than that though.
Yeah, even close. Yeah, I mean, it's
It's
kind of like PUBG when it first came out, and then like there was, you know, I guess like Fortnite would be like the closest thing. I'm sure there was some other like clones that were trying to do the same thing at the same time,
Yeah.
but you know, it's kind of like the same thing. Like it's the exact same mode as, you know.
Or maybe it's like
So-
going from Dota to League. You're just like, oh, I'm going to play some League, but I don't know any of the heroes, but like I know the mechanics and stuff.
Yeah, pretty well much.
Um,
Yeah,
There's
and you know,
something like that.
Dota's the
It's
superior
kind of fun.
game, so yeah, that makes sense. That checks out. Yeah.
You enrage all the League players in the chat simultaneously. I also agree with you, but it's, you know, it's fine. That's fine. It's okay. We know where we stand on that topic. We know where we stand on that topic.
It's funny.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man, it's just so funny that you're still playing it, dude.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
got to
it's
give it
like-
a try, dude. I've had people come in and be like, "Man, Church, I heard you talk about this on the ScavTalk, but it's actually kind of fun." I'm like, yeah, dude.
Yeah.
See, I'm not crazy. See,
I have to at least like give it a little
Yeah.
play.
Next
Just
time.
to see. I downloaded it. I did download it.
Oh, okay.
So that's the first step. Because I was like, oh, let me just download this. And it was just like, this is going to take a literal eternity. Starting one eternity. I was just like, oh my God, really? Like, it's actually quite big.
Yeah.
As a game. I was like, oh, my internet's just like, you know, snail speed. So I was like, fine. So I'll download this thing. Okay. All right. I think I got rid of something else. I was like running out of hard drive space. I got rid of Squad or something. I was like, no, okay. I'm probably not going to play Squad in the near future. So get rid of that for now. And install this in Dragon's Dread. So I mean, that's the first step. So I have it there. Oh man.
Could always download on your
Yeah.
phone, Giga. Just saying.
Oh my God. I'm not playing on my phone. There's no way. There's no way. Oh yeah. I mean, the other stuff, like just coming back to Tarkov, like while we finish up the last
Mhm.
like 10 minutes or so. The only other thing that I've been looking at recently is I've been delving back a little bit into like field of view and some of those things, because it kind of piqued my interest again, because I don't know whether whether we talked about this on the cast or whether it was separately, but about, you know, Spectator 6, who we had on one point, who's, you know, knowledgeable guy in the area of like a few things, and he talked about Steam Audio when he was with us. But he'd made a bunch of videos about FOV.
Yeah.
Or not really about FOV. Was it FOV specifically that he was talking about? I think it was FOV.
I mean, it was. Yeah.
I couldn't even remember now, because like it was so in depth into
Right.
all sorts of things. It was like less about. I mean, it was about FOV, but it ends up like devolving into lots of other things about the way that things get displayed on the screen in video games as a approximation, or I guess as a, whatever you want to call it, as like a semblance of trying to pervade real life on a 2D screen from a 3D picture, because there's
Mhm.
lots of different ways to do it, and it's complicated. And from his video, he linked like some other people's videos, and I watched a few of those, and then I watched like a couple of responses to those videos because I got kind of like sucked in a little bit because I was like, I think last time I said I just don't really know how this stuff works, and it was kind of interesting. So my knowledge is a little bit more broad than it was before, and that kind of then inspired me to like maybe take a little bit of a tackle on this topic from more of a practical standpoint. But I'm not going to go into the full technicalities of well, this camera and this camera and da because like I'm no game dev. That's just not. I'm not going to learn all that stuff and be able to confidently feel like I'm correct.
Yeah.
But it was quite interesting about certain things that I didn't realize, like having the game world be on one sort of camera, as you call it, within like Unity or whatever, and then you've got your gun. If your gun is rendered with the world, when you go up to an object, the gun just like clips through the object, so it's like half in the wall. So if you are playing like a a proper crappy like pre-alpha kind of thing that's like super rudimentary, when you go up to stuff, the gun will be like inside the wall. But if you split the weapon out as its own separate like camera render and then overlay that on top of the scene, no matter how close you are to things, the gun's always rendered as the weapon and is like on top of everything else. It's just kind of like video layers in some ways, like when you're editing, which is kind of interesting because I'd not really looked at any of this stuff before. But it was fascinating because I think there was one video in particular that he had referenced, and the guy in that was making some very basic game, and he was confused about why his scopes sucked so much in this like rudimentary shooter that he was making. And every time he went into ADS, the scope was just like really thick, and you could like hardly see through it because of the effect where, I mean, again, in a video game, you don't have both eyes. You've just got one eye, right? You're looking down like one particular camera. So that means you don't get any of the doubling effect and the brain being able to ignore kind of like both images and only focus on like one point. Like you don't get any of that stuff. So anything that's sort of single eye specific is much worse. So if you're looking down a scope, it's like you're looking down a tube and you can see the ends of the tube. It's like, because the end is smaller because of perspective, you can actually see like the inside of the tube if you're looking through it. And so it makes, on the screen, it just looks really awful, right? It makes the scope like outside look really thick. And he was confused as to how like the other FPSs or modern FPSs make it good. And there was a couple of responses to that, which is fascinating, about how most games deal with it, or at least like one method of doing it is to tighten or to make the FOV like really, really tight. I guess like you increase the FOV, I suppose. But then you bring the camera itself like way closer to the scope, and it like thins out the edge of the scope, and like it looks completely different. It's like, it's wild. There's all this crazy stuff. Like I don't fully pretend to understand everything that's going on, but it's strange because you've got like, because the gun is being rendered with one camera and the world is being rendered in another camera, you can have like you've got like the FOV of the world is different to the FOV of like the gun and the scope and the camera position looking through it. It's like super weird because it's something you can't do in real life, but you can do it in a game, which is fascinating. Like I didn't know any of this stuff a week ago. And so I was kind of like having a play around in Tarkov again because, we know that there's certain bits of recoil that, it looks like there's more recoil or less recoil doing certain things at different FOVs. And it became like relatively apparent to me, or more so now, what's happening in that when you've got a high FOV, because you're changing the kind of the perspective of the weapon that you have, that then increases like the scope shadowing. And actually, I think there may just be a bug with iron sights in particular, because I know people have spoken before about how if you add a 1x, then things feel better at high FOV. There's always these things that go around in the community that I've been interested about. Like people say, oh, high FOV feels terrible through scopes, like any powered optic, but it feels much better with unpowered like 1x holographics, for example. And I was like, this is an interesting statement. And when I went to go and investigate it, it's like at 50 FOV and 75 FOV, your gun and the camera of the weapon actually does match where you're shooting, interestingly.
Yes.
But because you're so much closer, the screen area that you're looking at in 50 FOV is so much smaller, or it's so much, I guess it's relatively so much bigger on your screen, the
Right.
gun feels like it moves around a lot more because the point that it's shooting at is just physically larger on your screen. So when you zoom it down to 75 FOV, the 50 bit like crunches down into the middle and you've got all this extra periphery. So it feels like the gun hardly moves, even though it's shooting at exactly the same point. It's just that you can see like 8 times the amount of pixels. And so the gun feels like it doesn't bounce around anymore because the target area is now a lot smaller, which again makes it harder to hit. And like, I guess in theory, it doesn't make it any harder or less hard to aim and control the recoil per se, because on one hand the target's bigger but the recoil feels like there's more, but on the other hand the target is smaller but the recoil
It's all
feels like there's less.
relative.
It's all kind of relative, yeah. So it's harder to spot somebody, and their target is smaller, so you have to be more accurate in 75 FOV, but then the gun feels like it jumps more in 50. It's very, very weird. But like with the iron sights in particular, that I do actually feel that high FOV is just bugged with iron sights because the recoil that you see is like way more. People always talk about like, oh, the camera recoil is like so high. It's so high at like high FOVs with like iron sights. And I'm like, after looking at it, I'm just like, well, it's not really camera recoil because it's not like the screen doesn't move. It's the gun model that moves too much.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
the
the world FOV is fine.
right.
It's the gun, it's the actual like render of the gun model that jumps too much because the actual recoil is the same. It just doesn't look like it.
Because when you go higher FOV, your peripheral gets wider, but objects are like farther as well.
Yeah.
So like if you think about it, your gun, it's trying to the way I think if I'm explaining this right, hopefully, but the game is trying to keep everything relative at different FOVs. So like in reality, your front sight is further, but I believe there's more zoom being applied. So it's like, imagine your gun got stretched out and then it got compressed. Like it physically got stretched out and then it visually got compressed, if that makes sense. So like
Kind of.
your gun would still look as if it's going to, because it's longer, it's going to kick up more, but that's been visually compacted, I guess.
Yeah, sort of, yeah. And it's interesting because when you're looking through, because I was like, I've never actually done these comparisons. I literally have them up on my screen at the moment because I was like looking at them earlier. And things of, you've just got the same image and you've got 50 FOV, 64 FOV, which is what I use, which is why I use that as like an intermediary benchmark, and then 75 FOV. And it's like, 50's in the middle and 64 feels like slightly pulled back and 75 feels even more pulled back than that. So yeah, it's like, it's the same picture, but relatively speaking, the area that you had in the 50 now looks further away just because it's way smaller on the screen because there needs to be more room to fit everything else in. But what's fascinating is if you take something like the TAC 30, the peripheral vision area is actually identical on all FOVs. And what you see inside the scope is nearly the same. It's not quite the same. The scope is actually very slightly bigger at 50 FOV, but I'm sure that that's probably just some rounding between, the whatever scaling model they've got. It's it's very similar. And the picture that you see is very similar.
Right.
But one thing that's kind of interesting is that at 75 FOV, you actually have a loss of detail in the periphery, which is kind of weird because you're sort of zooming in to the 75 FOV render.
Wait.
And so
you're saying at the 75 FOV you have a loss of detail, or you're saying at the 50 FOV you have a loss of detail?
At 75 FOV, so when you're in the one times, actual like in a TAC 30, they all look almost identical.
Okay.
No matter what FOV you have. But at 75 FOV, you've had to zoom in more because there was more on the screen beforehand. So it was rendering less for the same graphic settings, I suppose. Seems to be the way it's doing it anyway. Like if I was looking at a set of train tracks on customs, 50 FOV, they're rendered. At 75 FOV, they're no longer rendered because I think there's just not enough pixels. But what's interesting is that then when you go in the scope, they're still not rendered, even though you've zoomed in more from 75 because you end up at the same place no matter what. Like from 50, it's not much of a change. From 75, you go from all the way back here, all the way in, and the train tracks are still not rendered at 75, which is like kind of interesting. But one other thing that's fascinating, which is exactly what you were talking about, at 50 FOV, your gun barrel and the front post is like way further out.
Yeah.
but at 75 FOV, it's like really close to the camera. So there's like some weird combination of like, this is the thing, the world FOV is like kind of the same, but the gun FOV is different in the different field of views setting. Even though the picture looks the same, and I think it's because they're not like, I'm not really sure, honestly. This is kind of like where I get to the edge of my knowledge and understanding, but it must be something to do with the fact that because they're not actually changing the FOV, they're just translating it into that same kind of into this new kind of like zoomed in mode or whatever. You still keep some of the features of the old FOV, but then what that ends up meaning is that because, and I don't actually quite know precisely why this works, because I would have thought if you were closer to the scope, then that would be better. And I feel like with the higher FOVs, I think you are, because your gun looks shorter. Maybe it's the other way around. Maybe the FOV is actually even lower. I don't think that can be the case. Anyway, whichever way it ends up working, because of the distortion on the gun, that ends up playing with the scope shadowing and the eye relief. So it ends up looking like way worse at 75 than it does at 50. And I'm not entirely certain which part of that is because the pivot point's in the wrong place, because the scope is out of alignment, because you're too close or you're too far away, because of the compression and like the adjustments they've had to make. I'm not entirely sure, but it looks, this one of the only things that looks different between 50 FOV and 75 FOV is how far the front post looks. Like, it's super weird. Like, the gun's like really long at 50 FOV, and it's like really short. Like, the front post is like just at the end of the scope in 75 FOV, and whatever, like, that effect is then causing these issues, which is interesting. So I don't know, it's funny. Like, I'm actually very tempted to like decrease my FOV even more.
I
from
know.
64.
I really wish we could. I mean, this is like, you know, games just aren't like this anymore. But back in the old days, man, you know, the freaking config files for like your, you know, commands, you could, you know, binds and all that such. Like, man, we used to have like my dad got really really into it. He had like a Logitech mouse and needed to have like one of the buttons, like when you would snipe, it would like lower your FOV. So like,
Oh.
so you would like get like extra zoom, quote unquote. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sorry, no, I think he even had it just like in general. Like he would just have like a button on like quick command that would like you press it and it would, you know, mouse 4 bind, you know, set FOV to 50 or something. And so like, because dude, back in the day, like this was just like you could set your FOV to like 20. Like if you went so low, it was like this weird freaking like effect, dude. You could have it like really high too, and just have like giga like horse vision,
super fishbowl, like run.
Yeah.
You feel so fast.
But he would have it like he would like it was like a zoom feature. He would just like toggle it on and off, where you could like zoom in like really far away. Is funny. But yeah.
Yeah, it's
But he's
weird,
weird.
man.
Did you notice
It's weird.
any extra eye relief with the Tech 30 with the different FOVs, like when you're shooting and stuff?
Yeah, like it's worse at the higher FOV. So the scope blacks out for a lot longer when you full auto at 75 than it does at 50. It seems to me that basically, if you can stand or adjust for the loss of peripheral vision, 50 is basically better no matter what. Pretty much every circumstance.
Yeah.
It's like it's the only disadvantage.
Yeah, it's just like I just hate how it feels though, because it's like
It feels slow.
I feel like claustrophobic or something. I don't even know how to describe it. It just feels so unnatural. I mean, like
I mean, you can't see as much, right?
if I could toggle it when I ADS, I would use it every time, probably like that. But yeah, because I think I play on 64 FOV as well, which I think is like I did the math. I think it's like somewhere in the hundreds. You know, it's like a little bit higher than 90. But
yeah, I can't remember actually. I can't remember what that is. It's somewhere around that though.
yeah, it's I don't.
I actually have the website here because I was like looking at this earlier. Yes, if you could take it to 64, it puts you to. Oh no, it's not quite that much. It's 96.
Okay.
So it's a nice middle ground. But I know some people play it down to like 59.
Yeah, I've heard 59 as well, which is probably close.
I think it's 90. I think it is 90 on the dot. 59, yeah. In 16:9.
Yes.
I mean,
Demira
you can
said it
take it up.
best. It looks like my camera is 20 centimeters in front of my character with 50 FOV. Exactly. That's what it feels like, dude. It's like I got little like T-Rex arms and stuff. Like it's just like my freaking PMC's neck is just like linear and his head's just like all the way out there.
Yeah. It's weird. Yeah, 50 vertical is 79 degrees horizontal. It's not a lot. Like you don't even have 90 degrees of vision.
Yeah, I can't. But
I might try changing to 59 and just seeing if that makes
have you
a
tried
difference.
50? Like
I mean,
unironically?
other than doing tests,
Right.
I haven't actually tried it properly. Because yeah, it feels so weird. I think there's so many things that it throws off because your character feels slower. Like you don't get to objects as quickly, like perception wise. But people are like way bigger on your screen.
Yeah,
But the
they
guns feel like they
are.
have more recoil because the gun moves around more because you're
Well,
more zoomed in.
one thing I noticed that what I like about the 50 FOV is while it does feel like it has more recoil, and I don't know if this really matters, but like your or maybe I'm getting this confused, but it felt like the gun snapped to the recoil point smoother rather than at 75 it was a lot more aggressive, which might explain the whole scope eye relief issue, because if the gun's like being more aggressively snapping to the different points of its recoil, you know what I mean? Like hypothetically, let's say there's a recoil pad. I mean, there's not, but you know, each point where the recoil shifts, I think it's at 75. It's a lot more like aggressive, like really fast. Whereas 50,
Yeah,
I felt like it was like it's wider at 50 because you're zoomed in more, but it's a lot more smoother, you know?
I'm not actually
I don't know.
100% sure. Yeah, I'm not sure. But it's quite interesting. It is quite interesting. I think like even at 75, like you might see some. It might look like that because there's more weird effects that you get. Like Spectator 6 goes into it. Like if anybody's like really interested, go and have a look at Spectator 6's channel on YouTube. He doesn't get that many views, relatively speaking, even though his content is like really insightful and thoughtful. I think, I don't know, he's a good dude, but his mic isn't very good. It's like number one rule of YouTube. But anyway, his stuff is interesting.
Spectator,
Yeah, exactly.
I know you're listening.
Exactly. I don't know, there was some people who commented on his videos just being like, hey, you know, it's like cool vid, you know, it's your microphone is potato. I think he replied, he was just like, yeah, I know, you know, I'm trying to fix it, whatever. So like, you know, whatever, it is what it is. But yeah, he did like goes through like loads of thought experiments about like different fields of view and about like front sights, rear sights, like all of this kind of thing. And it's really interesting about how you can get funny situations where the scope and the laser are aligned, but the front sight is like way off. Like the front sight is like misaligned, but it's because the world FOV and the gun FOV are different. So the gun looks like it's pointing the wrong way. The bullet can come out of the muzzle and still hit the target on the scope, even though the scope and the muzzle are misaligned from the player's perspective. Because they're under like two different, like the world that you're looking at is under a different FOV to the gun. And when the horizontal recoil comes in, the gun moves more than the world does. So it looks misaligned, even though it actually isn't, practically speaking, but it just looks like it is because everything's weird. Because the FOVs don't match up. It's like it's super, super strange.
Why couldn't they just set it at 90 and just keep it fixed? Like we couldn't change any like not like I'm sure some people would be like, oh, can we increase the FOV? But like, why'd it have to be like, what is it? 75 is the I don't remember what 50 translates
75
to.
is the max.
That's so low, dude. Like no, sorry.
Yes, it's so high. So 50 goes to 79, and then 75
79 horizontal recoil. I mean,
horizontal FOV.
That's I never like I can't even. What game has ever done that in the history of games?
79 FOV. Yeah, I don't know.
That's such a weird. That's such a weird thing. That's so weird. But anyways,
like basically every other FPS I've ever played, I pretty much go in, it's at 90, and I crank it to 100 or 110, depending on what the cap is in that game. That's usually the way it goes for me.
I feel like it's always the lowest is 90 and like the highest is like 120. Like some of the older games, I think you like could probably go down lower and higher, like 60 or whatever. But
yeah,
I just anyways.
Anyways,
was that it?
That's
for
it.
FOV?
That's it for now. That's it for now. I mean, I'm going to put something together on it, but yeah, it's funny stuff. It's weird. I've learned something.
Weird. It's cool.
I've learned something this last week.
Just as a quick tidbit, BSG announced, or I don't know if it's out yet, but they showed some videos on AMD's FSR 2. I think it's 2.
Oh yeah,
which is their AMD's upscaling solution, kind of like NVIDIA DLSS. But I don't know. I looked at it. I mean, I love this, like this whole space of AI upscaling. I think it's so cool, dude. But it looks good. They check out the video. I mean, if you have it, and if it's, I don't know if it's out yet. I'm not too sure in the details, but it looked good. If it gives you more frames, and like, got it. If they could, I don't know if it's just like a built-in issue, and I don't know if it applies for FSR or not. But if the freaking scopes didn't look so bad on the upscaling solution, and the fact that you like lose more FPS, at least from what I've seen, like generally speaking, most people do when they have it on for the picture-in-picture scopes, you just like get even worse performance. It sucks, but anyways,
we'll see.
Maybe we'll get DLSS 3.0 for Tarkov for all those 4090 gamers out there.
Oh boy, like we need better graphics cards in in EFT, eh?
Yeah, dude. Someone showed me in the Discord. It was Fail. Shout out to Fail. He posted benchmarking for the 4090 that someone uploaded on YouTube, and the GPU utilization was at like 9% without any like. It was on Lighthouse, no upscaling, back settings. I don't know what the resolution was.
That's gross.
Yeah, it's just like, please, machine, use more of my GPU. God, I wish. Yeah, sucks.
I just need like another CPU. That's what I need for Tarkov. Just like 2 CPUs. God.
Yeah. I would love to know, because I feel like it's just got to be. I don't know, man. Because I don't know how they're gonna get Streets to work. Because like, sure. I mean, playing online, there's definitely something that goes on. Because online, offline, like, you know. Anyways, I don't want to get into it because it'll just drag on. But yeah, optimizations, man. I'll take them where I can get them. Please, VSG, give them to me.
Exactly. The Lighthouse optimization, please. I want it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we've come to a close. Our time's up. Thanks everyone for tuning in. And as always, we'll catch you next week.
Catch you later.